Okay, so as promised, this is the follow-up to my last video where I went through my 50 favorite songs of 2021. I will link that above and down below. So this is my 50 favorite albums of 2021. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I think this year has been a fucking bumper year for music, specifically for albums. There's so many albums I love. Last year I did 25. I listened to way more music this year. So I'm doing 50. Again, I'm not going to go into crazy detail about every single one because that's fucking long. There's a lot of albums to get through, so I'm just going to start straight away. Okay, so starting the list off is already, I'm technically cheating because this is this is 4 albums. The most recently released as well. This is Kick 2, 3, 4, and 5 by Arca. Number 49 is an album that kind of grew on me with more listens. That's Star-Crossed by Casey Musgraves. Star-Crossed by Casey Musgraves. And 48 is Doja Cat's second album, or third actually, are we counting Amala? I don't know, Planet Her. Number 47 is an album I would not have expected to be anywhere near this list. It's by the YouTuber known as Quedeca, and that's From Me to You, an album that really surprised me. I didn't know he had production chops like that. His singing was really good all over it as well. Yeah, this album really surprised me. Number 46 is a project that dropped right at the start of the year, a project I was really looking forward to. It's DEMIDEVIL by Ashnikko. And 45 is Don Toliver's second album, Life of a Don. And I did prefer Heaven or Hell, but I thought some of the things he was trying to do on Life of a Don, be a bit more subtle, a bit spacier as well, I thought was really cool. 44 is Hitler Wears Hermes 8, Side B by West Side Gun. Side A, or, just Hitler Wears Hermes 8, I thought was kind of cool, a bit inconsistent, but Side B to me completely blew out of the water. I think there's no comparison between the two. 43 is one of 2 albums that Lana Del Rey dropped in 2021. And that's Chemtrails Over the Country Club. And next one is one of the biggest albums of the year, Montero by Lil Nas X. 41 is Temporary Highs in the Violet Skies. It's just nice. It's a nice fucking album title to say, by Snow Allegra. 40 is Super What by Czarface and MF Doom. He's on like half the album. And 39 is Pray for Haiti by Mac Homie, one of underground hip-hop's most talked about names in 2021 for very good reason. 38 is Sound Ancestors by Madlib, arranged by Kieran Hebden, aka Fortet. And 37 is Carnage by Nick Cave and Warren Ellis. A fucking apocalyptic doomsday soundscape of an album to me. 36 is an album that's been growing on me the more I've listened to it. I'll link my review to it actually, because I wasn't that keen on it, but the more I listened to it, the more I started to fuck with it. And that's Olivia Rodrigo's debut album, Sour. I love the variety in the album. I like the songwriting. I thought it was very mature, especially for someone so young. Some of the biggest and best pop songs of the year to me appear on this album, like Good For You, Jealousy as well, but especially Deja Vu. 35 is my guy, Dope Game Stupid by Bruiser Wolf from Danny Brown's Bruiser Brigade label. Number 34 is an album that dropped very late on in 2020. It came out after I'd already done my list for 2020, so that's why I'm including it on this one. It's Man on the Moon 3 by Kid Cudi, and in my opinion, I think this is the strongest entry in the Man on the Moon series. It might actually be, this is going to sound mad, but this might actually be my favorite Kid Cudi album. 33 is Jermaine Cole with The Off Season. I genuinely think that The Off Season is his strongest, most cohesive and consistent project since Friday Night Lights. I think it's better than 2014 Forest Hills Drive or For Your Eyes Only. I love the fact that he's collaborating like properly again. I think he flourishes when he has a melting pot of different talent around him, like he did on Revenge of the Dreamers 3. That album specifically made me more excited than I've ever been since I was like 14 or 15 for a J. Cole project. And I think The Off Season proved my excitement correct. 32 is Sometimes I Might Be Introvert / Simbi by one of the best rappers in the country right now, Little Sims. And whilst I didn't think that it was as good as Grey Area, because I still think Grey Area is like one of the best albums of the last 10 years, I liked how ambitious and grand and cinematic Little Sims attempted to be. And I thought for the majority of the album, it paid off really, really well. 31 is Wrestling by Australian singer and producer Kuchka. And 30 is The Boy, Drizzy with Certified Lover Boy. To me, Certified Lover Boy is not, in the upper echelons of Drake's catalogue, but I'm super biased towards Drake. I'm not going to lie, been listening to him since I was like 12 or 13. I do think the first half of this album really carries it. But there's bangers on here. I can't fucking deny it. 29 is Adolescence by Unknown T, shortly following up his amazing Rise Above Hate from last year. And next album is Fire by The Bug. Like this crazy high energy mesh of dancehall and industrial music and some sprinklings of grime as well. This album just makes you feel like... 27 is Provisional License by Millions. I love how, this album's like, it's like 30, 35 minutes. Already that was a good sign to me because it's so hard to keep that level of consistency with a rap album for, something over like 50 minutes or an hour. I think like if you're hitting those kind of run times, you need to be doing something fucking special. I do think this album is special. I love the concept as well. It's a whole like loose kind of narrative. But yeah, some of the best drill songs that I've heard this year at least appear on here. Specifically that fucking tune with AJ Tracy. That's one of his best features ever. I don't care. 26 is Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish. A much more subdued and light-hearted. I want to say light-hearted, light on the ears at least, because When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go was, super dark, bass heavy. And this was a bit more jazz and soul inspired than her previous works. Of course, she still has those, kind of quirky, zany, harder hitting tracks like Therefore I Am, NDA as well. But yeah, again, I think Billie Eilish is 2 for 2. I think she's one of the most exciting pop stars to come out, in the last few years. And I can't wait to see what she does next. Halfway up the list, 25 is Friends That Break Your Heart by James Blake. He's back in his fucking depressing bag, and I fucking love it. 24 is Weight of the World by Maxo Cream. This album, especially like as this album went on, it got more personal, deeper, more emotional, really raw as well. Specifically the song Mama's Purse and Trips as well. That 1-2 is such like an emotional blow. But the features all go over really well. Tyler the Creator, Freddie Gibbs. Yeah, I think this is the strongest Maxo Cream project that I've heard, at least. 23 is a sequel to an album that came out just over a year ago. That's King's Disease 2 by Nas. This album to me is so much better than King's Disease. Although there were some songs from the original album that I really enjoyed, specifically the one with Lil Durk. But this one felt much more consistent. I felt there was a greater variety of beat selection as well, even though both were entirely produced by Hit Boy. The features were more unexpected and more inventive as well, especially YKTV with A Boogie and YG. Oh my days. I felt so guilty for leaving this song off my list because it is one of my favorite songs of the year. So many standout Store Run moments. This is one of the strongest Nas albums in like years. 22 is Punk by Thugger. Completely went in a different direction to So Much Fun or to the rest of his career. The only thing I can really compare some of the sounds on this to is like the first half of Beautiful Thugger Girls with its big emphasis on acoustic instruments, specifically guitars. So much of this album was way more subtle and somber than I was expecting. At times, it doesn't even sound like Young Thug is a rapper. It sounds like he's this folky singer-songwriter from the Upside Down. And there's just enough variety. Even though it's such a sonically consistent album, there's just enough variety to keep your attention for an hour. There's tunes like Bubbly with Drake and Travis Scott. There's Stupid / Asking, which is fucking amazing. But of course, there's Dropping Jewels, my favorite song of 2021, my favorite Young Thug song ever. Genuinely, if Dropping Jewels wasn't on this album, Punk might have dropped like 4 or 5 places. Number 21 is what I believe might be the most underrated hip-hop album of the year from one of the most underrated rappers in the game, in my opinion. That's Elephant in the Room by Mick Jenkins. Jazzy, smoky, stream of consciousness type hip-hop. I think this is Mick Jenkins' best project since The Waters. I've liked every project that Mick Jenkins has dropped. I think he's so consistent. Not enough people chat about this guy. It fucking pains me. But yeah, this project, super, super strong. Number 20 is a collab album from Benny the Butcher, my favorite member of Griselda, and Harry Fraud with The Plugs I Met 2. Super to the point, straight up, unfiltered, raw, uncut, pure hip hop. Benny the Butcher has this, I don't know, it's like intangible quality to his delivery and the gravel in his voice. He's, I think, like the grimiest member of Griselda. That might be why I gravitate towards him so much. And him over these luxurious, classic, timeless style beats that feels Madlib inspired is just such a perfect combination. Number 19 is an album that I don't know if a lot of people think that this album is as good as I think it is. Like, you know, from the people I've spoken to and, you know, discussions online and stuff, like, people were kind of disappointed by this album. I don't understand why. It's The Melodic Blue by Baby Keem, his big debut project. To me, it's such like a unique mesh of the old and the new, you know, his instantly recognizable high-pitch, squeaky kind of delivery that sounds like an awkward teenager going through puberty. But don't get it twisted, this nigga has fucking bars all over this album. The beats are fucking weird, like 16. Again, that was in my favorite songs of the year. Fucking mashing synth pop and trap and hip hop. Of course, there's a few Kendrick Lamar features on here. The most memeable of which is his fucking already legendary ad-libs on Range Brothers. But don't get it twisted, the rest of the song and the different sections of it as well, fucking beautiful. Number 18 is, like I described in the reaction to it and in my favorite songs of the year, the most emotionally taxing and draining musical experience of the year. By the time I get to Phoenix by Injury Reserve, their first album since the passing of Groggs, and this is definitely the most challenging album that they've ever dropped. But it's so rewarding. That's why, like, it took me a long time to go back to it, just because I felt like I was just gonna sit on the tube and listen to it and have a fucking breakdown again. But the sound palette and soundscaping is so like beautifully dark and not, it's like ugly in the most beautiful way. I can't really describe it. It's murky, it's otherworldly, it's transcendent. It's not an album that you play often, but when you do, it fucking hits you. Number 17 is The Turning Wheel by Spelling. Ethereal, fairy, ASMR is how I would describe this album. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like Kate Bush for the 21st century. That's what Spelling feels like. When I listen to this album, do you know what this is gonna make no sense. When I listen to this album, I feel like I'm in the film Midsummer, because on the surface it's so beautiful and rich, and there's just something ever so slightly off lurking underneath the surface, and it makes it so I just can't stop like listening to it. I can't stop watching it. I can't stop listening to it. But yeah, if you haven't heard this album, please do. Specifically, Boys at School. 16 is the debut album from English singer-songwriter Arlo Parks, Collapsed in Sunbeams. Her writing style is so poetic and intimate. Like, one of the first lyrics I think of when I think of this album is, she opens one of the songs by saying, "I'd lick the grief off of your lips," and that is like a microcosm of her entire writing style. It's an emotionally rich and varied album as well. She writes about mental health, depression, love, friendship, happiness, sadness. I love the influences from folk music and R&B and indie pop and bedroom pop and, you know, all of these things. Yeah, I think Collapsed in Sunbeams is one of the best debut albums I've heard in a long, long time. Number 15 is The Boys with their 6th studio album, Brockhampton, Roadrunner, New Light, New Machine. Similarly to the Injury Reserve album, this is an emotionally raw album, primarily driven by the passing of Joba's father, and that's something that, runs throughout the entire album, specifically with the songs The Light and The Light Part 2. But the rest of the album is their most collaborative effort ever. There's A$AP Rocky, there's Danny Brown, there's JPEG Mafia, Baird, all of these names coming together. Certain members of Brockhampton don't get as much time to shine as previous projects, specifically like Matt and Merlin, but it's all for the greater good. Joba really is like the emotional weight behind this entire album, but they still find time to weave in those dark bangers like Don't Shoot Up the Fucking Party, Buzzcut, their R&B boy band type shit like Old News and I'll Take You On with Charlie Wilson. Oh! Gotta keep pushing, and I'll take you on, keep me to, and get all I want. What I love with every Brockhampton album is like they always build on what they've established on previous albums. So this sound is the sugar sound, the sound that's very heavily influenced by 90s and 2000s R&B and pop. But they always add their distinctive flair, their sprinkle of that je ne sais fucking quoi that makes it a Brockhampton song, that makes it, as soon as you hear it, you're like, that's them niggas. It's Brockhampton's most conceptually driven album, easily, to me. And again, they just keep proving that they're just one of the most consistent acts in hip-hop over the last few years. Number 14 is the second of 3 albums that dropped in 2020, right at the end of 2020. I didn't hear this until 2021, so fuck it. This is Song of Sage Post Panic by Navy Blue, the first Navy Blue album I ever heard. Instantly fell in love with it. The production is watery, murky, it's blue. His writing style on this album is so distinctive. It's a darkly nostalgic album as well, and it rewards you with multiple listens. It's lyrically heavy and dense, but super consistent as well. Every song sounds like it fits. Some of my favorite hip-hop songs of the year are on here, like 1491, like Tired, like Post Panic. That song with got a feature from from Yasin Bey. Oh man, that song's fucking amazing. I want to be able to get this on vinyl, but I can't fucking find it anywhere. If you haven't heard this album, please do. It's just like such a rewarding experience to go back to. Every time you go back to it, you pick up on a new bar, something subtle in the instrumental. It pays you to pay attention. Number 13 is maybe one of my biggest surprises of the year, because like I said in my previous video, I wasn't anticipating this at all. This is 2.5 by Amine, his mini mixtape, his 1.5, 2.5 series that he's apparently dropping between full-length albums. I think this is better than anything else he's ever dropped. 2.5 to me is the moment where Amine has finally found his sound, his distinctive sound. I really enjoyed Limbo. Limbo was super consistent, fun, but it did feel like, this mesh of sounds and influences that he was drawing from, and he was making something really, really enjoyable out of it. But I was still sat there questioning, like, I used to compare Amine to IDK. IDK is like someone that's really, really talented, but I don't feel like he's like found his distinctive sound yet. He's very good at drawing from influences and making something that's like kind of original. But Amine on this one, I think he's achieved that. The strange zany mesh of hip hop and pop and R&B and hyper pop and European dance music. There's some fucking two-step garage influences in there, and he just makes this vibrant, colorful, playful little mini project that is so endlessly replayable. Like the song Okay With Me, I can't remember the last time I heard a song that sounds anything like this. The drums, what? If it's okay with you, then it's okay with me. My pick for the biggest personal surprise of 2021. Number 12 is, to me, someone who is one of the most consistent and talented multi-talented and just fucking out there creative minds in hip-hop right now. It's JPEG Mafia's new album, LP. I think like LP sounds the most assured JPEG Mafia has ever been in his own talents. Of course, you know, he writes, he produces, he sings, he raps, he masters, he engineers, he plays all these fucking instruments. And this is just, you know, I don't think it's as eclectic as something like All My Heroes Are Cornballs, but it's the most confident I feel like Peggy's ever sounded. This feels like the culmination of all of his previous projects. Like, there's the dark, grimy shit that was on Veteran. There's the R&B inspired singing tracks from All My Heroes Are Cornballs. And there's the watery synthy stuff that you got on the 2 EPs he dropped recently. The Britney Spears, my loneliness is killing me inside. Baby, baby, one more time. Thoughts, Prayer, like all of these are songs that I don't think anyone else in the world could make or could produce, because JPEG Mafia has such a unique and singular sound, and with every project he's more assured of himself, he's more confident, he's willing to experiment even more, as if he hasn't been experimenting with shit for his entire career. LP is just another entry in an amazingly consistent catalogue. Number 11 is this, an overview on phenomenal nature by Cassandra Jenkins. Look at it. Look how fucking beautiful it is. Oh, man. I'd never heard of this album I'd never heard of this artist prior to the beginning of 2021. I'm so glad I did now. This album, by the way, is only like 31 minutes. Her voice is just so subtle. And all of these stories that she tells about, you know, her going on quests and meeting people and searching for meaning in this and meaning in that are so like beautifully written and transcendent. The musical textures and palette is watery, jazzy, folky, therapeutic. The closing piece, the ramble, literally you could spin that. Just put it on a 10-hour loop. And go for a walk. Go walk fucking 10 miles or something. Like, I would genuinely do that to this album. I did do it actually, because this got me through large parts of lockdown. Because it dropped during, it was like, you know, I first heard this album in like, I don't know, April or May or something, and over here we were still locked down. So I'd go on walks and listen to this album. I listened to it like 2 or 3 times in a row. It's 31 minutes. You can get through it very quickly. There's something just so calming and soothing and peaceful about this. This is like the most peaceful album I've ever heard. Oh yeah, I love this thing so much. Like, also, you know, Hard Drive specifically, one of my favorite songs of the year. Listen to this album, please. Okay, so we are in the top 10. Starting off the top 10. What a collab. What a fucking collab. Boldy James and the Alchemist with Bo Jackson. Yeah, whole lot of carrots. I can see how you're holding embarrassed. And I put a bitch in the White House way before Kamala Harris. I hit a Boldy. Oh my God, man. You know, I remember years ago, I had a lot of people telling me, you need to get onto Boldy James. And I'd only heard bits and pieces of his work here. But for me, like, working with the Alchemist is like a seal of approval of you are fucking fire. So I'm like, for me, when this dropped, I'm like, oh, the Alchemist is dropping an album, not Boldy James is dropping an album, or Boldy James and the Alchemist. I was excited for the Alchemist, but Boldy on this album, oh shit. This beat for me is one of Alchemist's best ever beats. King of the oven, man, I'll be run this bitch. A glutton for punishment, keep a submachine gun with 100 clips. A glutton for punishment. Yeah, that's just a taste of just how Boldy James is a fucking poet. I swear that he is a hood ratchet poet. Him and the Alchemist linking up. Man. I actually went to see the Alchemist a couple of months ago in London. It was the first live show I've been to since COVID. And he dropped some instrumentals from here. Crowd went fucking crazy, as you can imagine. Yeah, Bo Jackson, man. I can't get enough of this album. Like, and The Alchemist, bruv. The Alchemist has dropped, for me, he's dropped 2 classic collab albums in 2 years. He dropped Alfredo last year, and now he's dropping this, which to me is like almost on the same level. Yeah, he's one of the best producers to ever do it. Boldy James on this. This was a man possessed by the demon of being able to spit your fucking heart out. Number 9 is an extremely short project, but one I think is this artist's best so far. That's Vince Staples' new self-titled album, entirely produced by Kenny Beats, I believe. Lil Fade, tripping, get your wig spray. Shoot shit, pockets full of blue strips. This is the album where Vince Staples finds his power and strength in subtlety, actually. This is his most subdued project yet, because, you know, Summertime '06 was dark, grimy, heavy, like hip-hop. And Big Fish Theory was, his foray into experimental music, drawing influences from European music, electronic music. He was working with people like Sophie. And then FM was kind of a middle ground between the two, another extremely short project. But this is like his most traditional, his most subtle album so far. And I think it's one of the best hip-hop albums of the entire year. It's dark, but not dark in the same way that Summertime '06 is, because that's like a sonically dark album. This is like, I don't know, it's like a man who's just numb to fucking everything. And that's why I feel so much of his delivery is kind of like lax, and it would sound half-hearted in someone who wasn't as skilled as Vince Staples. To get a little bread, shoot a couple niggas in the head, still outside. I don't hide from the shit for life, had to fight. He's detailing the stories like, look, I might be doing this rapping shit, but I can't get out of this life. I am still on this shit if you test me. And it's like he's at this point now where he's not given up hope, but he's just accepted his reality. And that's why I think this is like even darker than something like Summertime '06. Taking me home like I click my shoes. Oh man, this album, man. This is why. Make your fucking album shorter. Make them shorter. You see what you can do with a short album. There's no filler. Not a single moment of filler. Vince Staples does not waste a breath. He does not waste a word. Kenny Beats does not waste one single fucking 808 or clap. It's such a Vince Staples album because, he's big. Yeah, think of the people Vince has worked with. He's worked with, James Blake, The Alchemist, Kendrick Lamar, freaking Earl Sweatshirt, all of these, legendary or like contemporary legends in hip hop. And, he's not topping any charts or anything, but at the same time, he's not underground anymore. So he's in this weird space where he still is kind of about that life, but he's also living this celebrity life at the same time, and it gives him a really unique perspective on celebrity and gang culture. And the way he explores that on Self-Titled is just, it's so unique, it's so fascinating. Vince Staples, just so consistent. This is my favorite Vince Staples album. Number 8 is, in my opinion, well, not in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, one of, if not the most anticipated album of the year. Is Donda by Kanye West. It has to be on here. It has to be, blood. He has to be here, blood. I mean, what can you say about this album? What can you say about Kanye at this point? This album was meant to come out in July 2020. It came out in August 2021. It's like Kanye says, I'll be there 5 minutes. 5 hours later, I'll be there in 5 minutes. This nigga had 3 listening parties for an album and then just dropped it at 8 a.m. on Sunday, bro. So in terms of the music itself, one of the gripes I had was when he released the deluxe, because the deluxe completely shifted up the track list, and I felt if you listen to that track list in that order, it kind of takes away so much from the experience of Donda, because to me at least, there's this clear character arc and progression, and there's this rise and fall. There's the challenges that he faces, and then he gets to this climactic point, and then he has his moment of redemption by the end of the album with Come to Life and No Child Left Behind. And Deluxe, to me, completely takes away from that. But just the sheer amount of music on this album is insane. It's by far his longest album so far. It's almost 2 hours long. But I was actually surprised that Donda was this good, because everything leading up to it, it felt like it was going to be a fucking mess. Like, I don't understand how this actually has like a coherent story to it. But yes, it's fucking Donda, man. It's Donda. Don't let the lifestyle drag you down. It's so strange to me that because, you know, Kanye has had so many volatile moments in the past, and in his whole career, but specifically over the past like 5 to 6 years, and for him to come out with an album that is this consistent and makes this much sense. Of course, you know, there are some shaky spots here and there, don't get it twisted. But it was just so surprising. I was like, he sounds on record so focused and clear, more so than he has in years. I would say like he sounds more focused and clear than he does on a project like Kids See Ghosts. And while I think Kids See Ghosts is a better project than this, in terms of the content of what he's saying, that was like, you know, it had those themes of redemption and getting through your mental health struggles and things like that, but it was very, it was so emotionally raw and charged, and it felt like with Donda, so many songs, he'd sat and reflected on what he was saying and maybe changed some things up. I think you could see that in songs like Jesus Lord, Come to Life as well, which really, really, really grew on me. Like, I fucking love that song now. And this is excluding Life of the Party with Andre 3000, which is one of the best songs of the year, and it's not even it's not on the original, you know, track list of Donda for reasons that everyone is aware of now. But yeah, Donda is Donda is Donda. All right, next up is an album I knew was going to be great as soon as it was announced, as soon as I heard the lead single. It's An Evening with Silk Sonic by Silk Sonic. The most fun I've had doing a reaction to an album in ages. Oh man, it's again, this is why you fucking make your album shorter. This was hyped up for months. Leave the Door Open came out in March, and this came out in November, and they spent all that time working on these 9 tracks. Fuck being like, oh, we need 17, 18 tracks, we need the streaming numbers, blah blah blah. No, make these 9 songs the best possible 9 songs, and then it will stand the test of time. I think that this album will. I know it's very short. You know, it's only been a short period of time since it dropped, but this is the post-pandemic. I mean, you know, we're still in the middle of the pandemic, but this is whenever the fuck it ends. I don't think it's a pandemic. I think it's an endemic. But after the couple of years that we've had, we just needed something that literally everyone can love. Like, you know, I love finding music that's like, you know, by an artist I've never heard of, and I'm like, oh, there's this little underground indie artist. Like, oh, I found my new favorite thing. But I think there's just as much value in something that is just so universally liked. Like, I literally, everyone that I know that has heard this album at least likes it, if not loves it. Like, you know, you want to be able to just enjoy music with a shitload of people and have a good time. That's what this album is. It's not that deep. This, like, you know, lyrically, it's not that deep. It's about love and gambling and romance and sex and, you know, the typical pop shit, but it's just so musically rich. It's so light-hearted, apart from Put On a Smile, because that song fucking hits. Yeah, what a collab. What a fucking collab. The best music of Bruno Mars's career. I don't know about Anderson .Paak because Malibu's ridiculous, but it's up there for both of them as well. Yeah, I'm so glad that this collab exists. Number 6 is an album that I'm literally wearing the merch for now, and I have the signed vinyl right here. It's Tyrone by Slow Tie. And, you know, ow, fuck. When this album was announced in late 2020, I remember saying, I was like, this might end up being my favorite album of the year. And, I mean, it's pretty fucking high up. The way the album is structured with the, you know, the capital letters, loud, aggressive tracks at the front, and then the emotional, introspective, gloomier songs towards the back end. It's a stark contrast to Nothing Great About Britain, because that album is socially and politically charged as shit. It's amazing for it as well. And this is Slow Tie looking inwards, looking at himself for reflection and meaning. And for an album this short and this consistent, there's so much like musical variety. There's tunes like this. I am an actor, fuck the Oscars, main stage in my boxes. There's that, but then you get focus. You get focus, bro. Slow dance with the devil, no chance, so I settle. No second chances, I just gotta be better. Lesser version of myself, shoe fits, Cinderella, pure amusement, then I'm fed up. Why are you so jealous? Yeah, it's that contrast. They're both like both aspects of Slow Tie's psyche are just as important as the other, and they come together to make something bigger and grander. I mean, this album went to number 1 in the UK, which really surprised me because in terms of rap, what's big in the UK now is like drill artists and people like fucking Ardy and Central C and Millions and Digga D. Like, these are the guys that, and you know, obviously you have like Stormzy and Dave and people like that. Those are the guys that are getting the radio hits in terms of rap and hip hop in the UK. So for someone like Slow Tie to achieve a number 1 album with this kind of music, I think is something that really needs to be celebrated. Okay, getting into my top 5. Number 5 is what I think this album came out like a month ago, and I genuinely think it like is already the biggest selling album of 2021. This is Adele with 30. Oh my God. I was not expecting to love this album this much. Like,
you ain't never had a woman like me.
The biggest bad bitch anthem of 2021 is Woman Like Me. Apart from that song, the rest of this album, cinematic as fuck. It's an expensive sounding album. Of course, it's Adele. So personal. Of course, it's about divorce, babe. It's about divorce. But it fucking is. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is effectively a breakup album, but it's way more three-dimensional than just a breakup album. She talks about the guilt that she feels for feeling a certain way. She talks about her loneliness, her relationship with her child, wanting to go out and finally meet someone new, feeling shit for flirting with someone else, thinking that, you know, forgetting that she's no longer in a relationship. It's all of these strange emotions that are normal after a breakup, especially a marriage with someone that you have a child with as well. So there's fucking layers to it. Musically, I think she draws a lot more influence from some genres that I weren't expecting. You know, she brings on new producers like Ludwig Göransson, who produces, you know, for Childish Gambino, and he does film scores like Tenet and Black Panther. He did the opening song. There's Inflow, who produced Little Sim's album. It's jazzy. There's what tune is it? Cry Your Heart Out. It has like this reggae groove to it. Yeah, this album, man, I did not expect it to be this fucking high. I can't lie. Easily Adele's best album so far. Number 4, one of my personal goats, one of my favorite artists of all time, someone who has got to a point in his career where an amazing project is no longer a surprise. It's him. Of course it's amazing. It's Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the motherfucking Creator. This is the return of predominantly rapping Tyler. It's the most I think he's rapped on an album since, I don't know, since Wolf? Maybe, that's what it feels like. And, you know, last year, like, I felt this coming because last year he was dropping all these fucking amazing rap features. He had the tune with Yachty, he had the tune with West Side Gun, the tune with Freddie Gibbs. I'm like, oh, he's on his rapping shit once again. And people forget that. People forget because this nigga made Flower Boy and Eagle that he's also not one of the best rappers walking right now. Oh my, Hot Wind Blows, Lumberjack, Massa, Manifesto, Corso. Are you every track? And also, what he's still able to do, because it's Tyler the Creator, every project has a narrative and has a concept, and this is no different. It's the most like loose concept, I would say, out of all of his albums, but it still has, you know, this narrative running through it about this love triangle where he's, you know, the sideman essentially trying to fucking steal. He's trying to be Mr. Steal Your Girl, and it gets to a point where we get to Wilshire, and he's just confessing his love, and he feels guilty, and he says, you know, I'm the bad person. He's a deep nigga. I'm just a surface nigga. All of this stuff. So it's emotionally layered as well. And the framing of this album, everything surrounding this album as well, because an album isn't just the music and that's it. It's the promotion, it's the artwork, it's the visuals. Every time Tyler releases an album, it's a new world to step in. This is not Eagle, it's not Flower Boy, it's not Wolf, and the next album will be nothing like Call Me If You Get Lost. And for me, that is a trait of a fucking amazing artist. To me, so, you know, Tyler Creator is someone who always, you know, cites Pharrell as his greatest influence. You can hear Pharrell's influence all over Tyler's music, but for me, Tyler, the Creator is like the closest thing we have gotten to another Kanye West, because Kanye West's career has been defined by, you know, being a musical and artistic chameleon, where at every point in their career they're like, yeah, I'm on some next shit, fuck that shit, that was the old stuff. That's exactly what Tyler's done throughout the 10 years, and look what he's reaping his rewards now, because he is consistently dropping amazing projects in a variety of genres. This nigga's doing R&B, this nigga's doing soul, he's doing hip-hop, he's doing fucking reggae. There's a fucking reggae song on here. Every 2 years, this nigga drops an album. Every 2 years, consistently. And what I love as well, I know I compared him to Kanye West, but the rollout for Tyler's albums, it's so refreshingly straightforward, because it'll literally be like a month before, he's like, there'll be something floating around and like, oh, apparently Tyler's dropping a new album. And the next week, there'll be a poster somewhere, and he'll be like, yeah, my album's coming on this day, pre-order it. The day comes, and it's there. It's like, all right, cool, see you in 2 years. It's just so easy with him. Call Me If You Get Lost is like, I'm not going to compare it, but like, I'm drawing these parallels between Kanye, because I think that they are there. When Kanye got to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, it was this amalgamation of every album that had come before, and I think that's what Call Me If You Get Lost is. I'm not saying, you know, I still think Eagle is better, but Call Me If You Get Lost has every Tyler the Creator sound that you could imagine is on Call Me If You Get Lost. It's like, after this album, I don't know where he'll go. I don't know where he'll go next. I don't know, but I know it's gonna be fucking amazing. This is the one I've been waiting to talk about. Number 3 is by an artist that I think is the most exciting artist to come out of 2021. And it's not even a fucking album, it's a tape/project. It's To Hell With It by Pink Pantheress. Oh, don't get me started on this. I'll play the whole thing. It's only about 4 minutes long. Every song,
It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in my bed. Had a few dreams about you. I can't tell you what we did.
This album, this project is crack. You don't know how addicted I am to this. Literally, like at every opportunity, whenever I have 20 minutes, whenever I know I only have about 20 minutes to half an hour to spare, I listen to this. Like, if, you know, I'm always like early or on time to meeting anyone or going anywhere, and a few of my friends aren't like that. So I'll say to my friends, oh yeah, you know, let's get to the pub at 7. I'll be there at 6:59. I know these nerds are like, oh, I'm on the bus now, blah blah blah. I'm like, cool, I got 20 minutes to play To Hell With It. Oh man, the reason I love this so much, yeah, is because, I mean, one, it's so short, so the replay value is off the fucking chain. But also, it has no genre. It has clear genre influences. Like, you know, Pain is clearly inspired by two-step carriage. Clearly inspired by two-step garage. But this isn't pop. It's not R&B. It's not hip-hop. It's not soul. It's not dance music. This refuses to be categorized. And, you know, Pink Pantheress has this, like, otherworldly aura about her and her music. Like, I don't even think we know what her real name is yet. Everything surrounding her is kind of mysterious as well, and it perfectly matches the music, because I'm like, I'm not quite sure what I'm listening to, but it's fucking amazing. Oh man, I'll tell you a story that describes how much I fucking love this. Yeah, I wanted to get tickets to see her first ever show, and it was a venue that was like 200 people playing. So I was there at 9 a.m, ready and waiting. I was at work, but I was like, fuck it. Ready and waiting for the tickets, they sold out immediately. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna have to go to like resellers or something. Ended up, long story, went on Reddit, got scammed out of 50 quid. I was like, I'm 50 quid out of pocket, and I don't get to see Pink Panther, so what do I do? And one of my friends got tickets for a different show, and I had her FaceTime me the entire concert while I was on the bus, and it was fucking amazing. That's how desperate I was to see this woman live. Like I said in my favorite songs of the year video, this song specifically is my most played song of the year.
All my friends know that you think the worst of me.
This is one of the few, I don't know how to articulate why I love it so much. There's crack, there's speed, there's heroin, there's weed, there's alcohol, and there's candy in this album. Okay, my number 2, the runner-up. The third album in this list that technically didn't drop in 2021, but it dropped on Christmas Day last year. Lists were all done. It was literally a few days before 2021. This is a 2021 album. I don't give a fuck. You know what it is? Do I even have to say it? It's a whole lot of fucking Red by Playboi Carti. Like I said about Pink Panthers, I've never had an album that is more like a drug than Whole Lot of Red, because, or like, you know, like alcohol or any vice. And I'll tell you why, because, so I remember, like, you know, when you're like, I don't know, when you first try alcohol, you first try beer and you sip it and you're like, I'm not quite sure about this. Like, there's something off about this, but, you know, I'll give it another go. And the more you drink it, or the more you sniff it, or the more you smoke it, or whatever, you get more and more addicted, and then you're too far gone. That was Whole Lot of Red for me. Like, when I look back at my initial reaction now, I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. And there was a few songs I was like, oh yeah, this is sick. But I wasn't to know, like, how much this album would stick with me for the. Like, in my initial review, I was like, you know, I thought it was inconsistent. I thought there was some, you know, interesting ideas. I can't remember the last time I changed opinions on an album this much over the course of a year, because I liked it. I thought it was good, and I thought it was inconsistent, but I thought he was trying something new. Now, this is, on my life, one of my favorite albums over the past, like, 5 years. I'm not even joking. Oh, boy. Not even in rap, nothing in the world of music sounds like Whole Lot of Red. And it's not good just because it's unique, because, you know, unique and original doesn't equal good. You know, you can have a unique piece of shit, right? That doesn't inherently guarantee, just because your thing's weird and quirky and experimental, that it's good. But Carti, his voice, like, you know how people say, oh, like, Young Thug uses his voice as an instrument, which I think is true. Thug is fucking amazing at it. Carti on here uses his voice, like, beyond an instrument. Like, there were songs on this album that I didn't even like Teen X. I didn't like Teen X, and that,
I'm on the X, I'm on the codeine. I'm on the X, I'm on the codeine.
Are you? He finds this. I don't know what it is, because, you know, like, when people talk about repetition in hip hop, and they're like, oh, that little pump tune where he just says Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, you know, over and over again, and it can get mind numbing, but there's something weird, and again, I genuinely have to use the word avant-garde to describe this album. I don't give a fuck what you think, because this feels like I'm listening to a performance piece. It sounds strange, but that's genuinely how I feel when I listen to Whole Lot of Red. It's like, you know, it's like certain certain filmmakers will, you know, linger on some fucking, like, boring shot in a film and, like, just drag it out to the point where it becomes this whole new thing. The same with, like, some comedians do it. They utilize repetition, and it becomes something that's bigger than the joke itself. And I don't know why. I don't know, like, man says jump out the house like 17 times in a row, and it's fucking beautiful. I don't understand.
Jump out the house, 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 jump out the house.
What the fuck what is this?
Amy Jamie, Amy Jamie, Amy Jamie, Amy Jamie.
SIT, we know my lead. I don't give a fuck. This is the best rap album of the year. I don't care. I remember people on Twitter, this will grow on you, this will grow on you. I'm like, yeah, it fucking did. To me, this album is a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect album. I'm getting worked up. I just want to sit here and I'll stop here, because I am going to do a video for the 1 year anniversary of Whole Lot of Red, where I'm just going to sit and listen to this whole album again, maybe have a couple drinks and just fucking vibe to it. But yeah, Whole Lot of Red, number 2. Any other year, most other years, it would have been, if I was counting this as a 2020 album, it would have been my number 1. But alas, it's 2021, so it's not my number 1. My number 1 is, I did a fucking 50-minute video just on this thing. So if you've seen that, you probably know what it is. It's not just the best album of the year, it's the best film of the year, it's the best TV special of the year, it's the best comedy of the year. It's Inside the Songs by Bo Burnham. Now, I've never really been a fan of like musical comedy. Never big on it. Like, you know, there's people like Tim Minchin and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's kind of funny, blah blah blah. But that's as far as it would go. This, like, I'd before Inside dropped, like, I'd heard of Bo. I'd seen bits and pieces of his work, and, you know, I'd seen his fucking vines, and I'd seen bits of his stand up here and there. I'd never sat down and watched it. So Inside was my first introduction, essentially, to watching one full body of work of Bo Burnham's. So I went in basically with I had no expectation whatsoever. I just heard, oh, Bo Burnham, yeah, I know him. I'd seen 8th Grade. I was like, oh, I like 8th Grade. Let's see what he does. So I went in with, no expectations. Didn't really know what it was going to be. And I had I had so many mixed emotions in the best possible way. It was such a visceral reaction to, it's hard to even talk about this as an album because it's so many different mediums. Again, it's this comedy special. It's a film. It's a narrative. It's a fucking horror movie. But yeah, this felt to me like Bo Burnham was like, I want to make an album, but I want to make an album primarily, and then the other things follow. That's what it felt like to me, because the narrative of this album, for me, it's like watching Inside now is like watching like a full length visual accompaniment to an album. It's not the songs from something else. It's like, this is the thing and this is the accompaniment. So to me, the Netflix film is the accompaniment to the album. To make like this piece of art about, your dwindling mental health and, your position as this rich, famous performer in the midst of a pandemic. And he never explicitly mentions the pandemic. It's obviously it's a very insular inside experience. But primarily the music is fucking amazing. The music is not novelty comedy music. It's good. It's amazing music to me. Like, I can't remember. I said this in my video about it. I said, like, the last time I got this obsessed with one piece of art was when Igor came out. And that's the only thing I can compare it to. I can't even go through. I'll link the original video because I went into it in detail. But Inside, Bo Burnham is my favorite album of the year. So that is my list. That's my 50 favorite albums of the year. Looking forward to what drops in 2022, of course. Let me know your lists in the comments down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, dong the bell, and I will see you next time.